So we've done quite a bit of work today. We have created a form, and you saw how easy it was to create a form in Bootstrap, and we're just copying. We will finish off by doing two things. Number one, we'll add a menu, because right now you have to remember login and register and where these URLs are unless you look at the actual SQL code. And then we'll find a way to manage a session. So the first thing we're going to do is right right at the top, we're going to add a div or a navigation bar using Bootstrap. So this is the nav item. So I have some sample code. Let me quickly look for it. So I believe if I look at my tblocks file here, I have one. Right here it is. The one I'll take is probably this one. So we'll just copy this code. Right? That's it. Copy that. And we will go into each of our files. And again, this is something that could be done in a main template. You don't have to repeat it everywhere. We only have two files, a register and a login. And the login doesn't do much for you. We'll probably later on create and edit users, which only people who are logged in can edit. That will be a good way to sort of wrap up this Flask thing. So in login, you really don't need anything, but in let's put it anywhere. Let's put it everywhere. So right at the top of our container, let's put it just before the heading, right? So this actually comes out back here, right? So if we save this, it does nothing. And we launch our app. Flask run. And we go to the home page. And now if we go to the register, you'll see a menu at the top here. Link 1, link 2, link 3, link 4, which take you nowhere, right? But they're there. There's a faint background on them. Let's take a quick look at Bootstrap colors. Bootstrap 5 colors. I have to spell it the American way. Let's get a background. We can use any that we want, but we want background BG type. How about we simply go with BG secondary? Let's see what that looks like. Right, so it was BG light. So if we do BG secondary and go back to our page and refresh it, I don't like that. The colors are also off. The colors are viewed, yeah. So the light might be better. I think that's okay. What we can probably do is put a margin bottom. A border. Yeah, what we need is a border bottom. And it's a bottom border, bottom secondary. Let's see how that looks. And let's refresh this page, or simply go here, and you'll see there's a faint line right along the bottom. So this link, the first one will be, I guess this is the one that will change. If you don't have a session, this will change to a login. If you have a session, it will change to logout. So we need a way to log the user out. But what we're here to talk about is session variables, because these are variables now that are kept throughout the lifetime of the application itself. So it's not context specific, but application specific. So first thing we do is let's jump back into our app, and let's include in the app itself session. Right? So we're importing a Flask object called session. And so what we need to do here is we'll change the home route. So if you don't have a session, we'll ask you to log in. So, and in the session, we'll keep the username and the email. So if user not in session, then let's return redirect to the URL for login, right? And this is new. Basically, URL for will look for a function called login. It won't look for the URL, it will look for this one. And then it will go to this route, right? At which point it won't be a guest or a post. It'll filter to the bottom and it'll end up down here. So we need to add URL for. That's one of the things we need to import as well, right? So if you don't have a session, go to login. Otherwise, add them to the session. So what we'll simply say is session user is equal to no, actually it means you have a session. So let's get the session and let's display them. User is equal to session user, and email is equal to session email, and we can say you're logged in. Hi person with email. Hi person, and maybe just put this here. You are logged in, and we'll format user and email. Now the idea is now that we've got those two, we don't have an index page, so we'll probably take them somewhere else. But for now, we can display that. And in login here, if it was posted, do this, and here's where they are logged in properly. So we can say session user is equal to data username, and we already have the password, so session email is equal to email, because we got it up here. We don't have to get it from whatever ID username, right? And we're done with that. So we are redirecting them away, and then they're coming back successfully. So, well, let's see how this works. So let's go to the home page. Redirect is not defined. Yes. So we need to add another one, redirect. And now redirect is defined. So you notice that when we went to the home root here, which is just the backslash alone, right? When we pressed enter, it took us automatically to log in. So that's happening right here because it's saying user's not in session, so go back here. Now, I think we added Dave. I think we did. And Dave, I believe. Aha. So this is another good thing with Flask programming. You need to give it a secret key for encryption purposes. So we're going to set that right up at the top after we build the app. Right here, app secret key is equal to something long secret. So I like to use the urandom function that's provided by the OS port OS. So this would be OS urandom. Let's try 64. And now, if we get back to here, we have now pause while we investigate this for a second so I don't bore you. So for those of us who are still following up, let me go back to hello and show you where the problem is. Problem is here. It's actually app config secret key is whatever you choose to have here, right? So let's relaunch our app. Let's go back to the home page at email.com and let's now look for Dave. So Dave is logged in. We're still in the login page, but guess what happens now if we go back to the home page? We're not redirected. The code we're seeing is this code right here, right? So that's what we're seeing because now we're logged in, and so we are validly in the right place. So let's create our menu items. We already copied the nav code here, so it looks okay. So let's first of all let's edit it here, and once it's working here. So the idea here is if you don't have a session, you can't come here. So we'll do the same thing. So link to will be edit users. This would be register user. This one at the bottom here will be log out. Now on the register page, we'll take them to the home page. Right? And if they're not, and then the logout will be there. So we've got, so here's the trick. You can register for an account. So let's try something neat right here. Let's copy that code, paste it here. So here's the thing. If you have a session and you're an admin, so let's update our table. So the schema for users. Okay. Alter table users, add column admin integer default 0 schema. Okay. So what we're doing now is we're going to have an admin key for each user. It's default to 0, but if it's 1, you're an admin. And what an admin can do is they can edit other users, right? So when we logged in our login code over here, we want to take the ID, username, admin from users where email is equal to this and password is equal to that. We're also then going to save into the session admin, and we'll make that into data admin, right? So if that's a 1, you can do other things, right? So session admin. So we get to use that data here. It's just a string. We'll pass let's leave that alone for now. So under register, that is still okay. So the admin is in the session. Now we need to get that over to the menu. So we're looking at the register menu. So why don't we simply for now yeah, it's getting a little bit confusing here because these menus don't make a lot of sense. Where I'm putting them, they should be in an index page or whatever, because the login page will never really have a menu. It's to get you into the system to begin with. But register, just so that we can see what's going on. We're actually just doing this as a test and want to see it work. That's all. Essentially what we're trying to do here is if you're an admin, you can edit. If you're not an admin, you could register, right? So the idea here is that if admin show that link, right? Or register user, and anybody can log out, right? So only show this link if you're an admin. Anybody can go home. So we need to change this register. If you're not logged in, redirect you the same way we've done it with the index page right here. So if user not in session, return redirect role for login. right? So you have to log in, otherwise, yeah. So this would be in the case where, for example, only administrators are allowed to register users. So in the case where only administrators, so administrator would log in, would register the user. So there's no self-registration. That would be an interesting app where users can self-register and then administrators can then authenticate them to use the system. But hopefully what I'm showing you is just the power of just a bit of code, some Bootstrap templating, and Flask and Python, and how to really get a lot of mileage. So in this case here, we just want to see what's going to happen. Otherwise, they'd come here, they'd get this form, they'd fill it in, and somewhere here, that's results. Here we'd say we're inserting 3 things. And once you are here, you really don't see anything. So we'll have to create a, yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back to this, and not that one, to register. And if you're not in the session, then you're there. And let's just do something here. User admin session, and that will allow us to do what we're doing at the bottom here. All right, if you're not in the session, and then we'd have to create a route for logging out. Let's take a quick look and see how much damage we've done so far. This app. Let's go back here. We love error messages, don't we? It kicked us out here. Okay. What we need here is actually we don't need that. Put it in the session. There's a syntax error. Admin equals session admin. Line 72 of our code. It's because we forgot a parentheses. Okay. So we're in the login. So now we can go to register and see what's there. So Dave is not an admin, so he can register a user, which basically doesn't do much. So he can go back home and he can log out, right? So at least we're seeing that work. Let's create an admin user. So we'll call him Tony T at email.com. Tony register this person was successfully registered. Let's go to the command prompt. Let's take it out, cut our users. So let's update users set admin equals 1 where ID equals 2. Select from users. And I've created one admin. Generally, you'd want to give the administrator a good user interface to do admin work, but that's a quick and dirty way to do it. Let's see if we can go back to login and t@mail.com and Tony. I've logged in and register. So even though I'm an admin, the edit users link is still not displayed because if I take a look at what the app is doing, we're here, we didn't post it. Oh, okay, this is the problem. Okay, that was during our debugging. Let's do it again. T@email, Tony. I've logged in. Let's go to register. And here you have it. If we go to login and we are D@email, and that's Dave. And now if we now go to register, and the email edit is gone. So it seems to be working. Only admins can get to that link. And essentially what will happen as we continue to build this out, let's put a few more people in here. Charles, who's c@email.com. Charles. Let's create Leslie, l.com. Leslie. Let's create a Bart, @email.com. Bart. Let's try one that already exists. Let's try let's try D. It's good. David D. @email.com. This should fail. David. Yep. So this is we've probably seen this before. Unique constraint failed. So our code is bad. It's not checking to see whether or not users are there. There are two ways to handle this. One is to put this in an exception block, and that would work. So right here at the register where we do the insert, this is where it's failing, right? So we could put this into a try catch block, and probably that's the best way to do it. So if we could do here and we try this, if this fails, results, and actually you could put both of them in there. I'm gonna get rid of this one. If that fails, actually even this one, then results should be equal to enable register user exists. Right, and we didn't do any damage. That's probably the best way. The other way to do this would have been to query the database for that user. So go out to the database, see if that person's email actually exists, come back. If they do exist, do something else, but this is also a good way to do it. So now let's go back to login. We'll try Tony. I'm logged in. Let's go to register. And let's try and register David. Unable to register the user exists. So the application panicked in the background, it didn't spill forth. And that's okay in debug mode, but it's not good for a production system. So I think from this point on, what we can try here is let's create the edit feature. So we've got register working. Register really shouldn't have any blocks, so there should be no menus. We shouldn't actually be looking. If you're logged in, you can probably register for another account. That should not be a big deal. But registering account should be open, logging in should be open. But then the other items such as editing or going to the home page. And really for the home page, one of the things we can do, and I'll show you this, is we can start looking at Bootstrap tables because they're quite neat. And the table will then show you a list of all the users with a edit button, right? But you can only get to the home page if you've logged in, right? And that's we've taken care of. Okay, so when we come back, we'll fix up our home page so that it displays all the users that are currently in the system so far. And then we will make sure that the menu is on the home page. That's one place it can be. And it's on that's probably the only place it should be. Right? So we'll take this menu off the register for an account because actually we'll leave it there, because when you're registering for an account, if you are an admin and you're registering someone, you'd probably need to go to edit users or go home. So we'll just leave it for now. Okay. Be back soon.